I am in a reading slump. And when I say I'm in a reading slump, I literally told myself I wasn't gonna read for like another 3 to 5 days because just, I don't know. I just all of a sudden just felt like the books were the enemy. My books were the enemy and I wanted to have nothing to do with them. And so I have decided that I am going to pick up books that I believe are going to be 5-star reads for me. I'm going to do some books that are some tried and true authors. There are a few new releases, books that have been on my radar that I just haven't gotten around to. And I'm actually really glad that I saved these books for something like this, because I just feel like I've been reading a lot of recs from other people, and I have finally started to get like some really like lower rated reads. Even some of the reads I think that I have had, I think I've rated a little bit higher than what I actually thought once I sat back and thought about it. Doing challenges that take only a few days just really are messing with me mentally. So this video is going to be filmed probably over the course of a week or two. I have a couple on my mind, a good 4 books that I think are probably going to be 5 stars for me. So the first book that I'm going to start this video with is going to be The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I kind of read the synopsis on it and it sounded really interesting and different, and I love Jessa's writing. If you have yet to read the Magnolia Park series, you definitely should read that series, because even though it is messy and it won't be for everyone, the premise of the flaws in people and the poetry inside of Jessa's writing, she just writes really different. And Daisy is my favorite. Out of Magnolia and Daisy, Daisy's my favorite. Those books really, like, the characters really are going through some stuff, and there's some development in them that is just phenomenal. The way that she writes people, it's just, I can't even really explain. You have to really read them for yourself. If you can get past the first book so that way you can understand why the characters are the way they are, I highly recommend the Magnolia Park series. I definitely cried a few times, so I'm gonna start this video with The Conditions of Will, and I will obviously keep you posted on how it goes. There is just something about Jessa's storytelling that automatically pulls you in. It just feels like she really understands how to truly write humanity, and she's always saying something that you're not expecting to be in the book, because it's not necessarily politically correct or politically wrong, it's just the truth. And I love that about her writing, because she doesn't sugarcoat. Like I said before, I think the human condition and how we truly are as people, the good, the bad, the ugly, it doesn't matter. She doesn't shy away from touching on real topics. She doesn't try to make us feel a certain way to make us feel good. She tells the truth, and in that truth it gets you to think. It actually, like, I'm only in the first few pages and it's already making me giggle, because it just makes sense. The way she describes people and talks about us is like, it just makes sense. I'm saying us like she's just from another planet. Her writing is definitely from another planet, but yeah, I really love her writing. And I don't even know where else to go with that, but I'm gonna continue reading and I'm gonna touch back and let you guys know how it's going a little bit later. Okay, so I am updating you guys 2 days later, and I have not finished this yet. Not because her writing's not good or anything, just because I'm trying to learn how to balance content creation like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And so before I even considered getting into this anymore, I went ahead and took care of like my thumbnail for my upcoming video, which will be out before you guys see this. Also, I did get one chapter in last night, but I could tell that we were going to start getting into some of the tough topics that are probably going to come up in this book. And so I decided to halt because it was already late and I didn't want to do that to myself. So now I'm going to get some reading done, hopefully get into this. My husband's actually coming home from work early so he can help me out, and all my kids are taking a nap except for like my two oldest, and then I'll finally be able to update you guys on if my prediction was right or if it was wrong.
Just like state playoffs, we're down by 6-7 seconds to go. We need that big, beautiful 52-yard right there. We weren't aiming for you, but I doubt it would have done it, you know.
So I did finally finish The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings, and I will say we started the video off strong. I'm giving it 5 stars, and I absolutely love her writing. She's very lyrical and poetic. I've never really read any books that read the way that she writes, and I think that that's a common thing that you'll hear about people who actually enjoy her books. She has no problem tackling the tough topics about the human condition and what they actually truly mean. So in this book, we find a semi-love triangle type situation where it's not really a triangle, but one person feels a certain way while 2 other people feel a way about each other. Our main character, Georgia, falls in love with someone, and that person does fall in love with her as well, and then there's an outside person who loves someone, and you can find that all right here, and it becomes very, very complicated and muddied. This book also talks a lot about the condition of the Christian community, and I actually really enjoyed reading a lot of parts of that, and it was very reflective. And I feel like I could be wrong, like Jessa was talking about who Jesus is and what society has made him to be, the 2 differences between that, and I really enjoyed that. Her writing like literally explained it to a T, and it might come across as offensive to some people, but I think that is part of what she was actually trying to say here. And I was not expecting that. I did not know that that was going to be like an undertone of the book. Also, I will say, before I gave it 5 stars, I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be a 5 star. So I'll be completely honest, I was not sure. I really enjoyed the first part of it, and then somewhere in the middle, I really wasn't feeling the story. I don't know what it was. I really don't. Maybe it was like my hormonal cycle, because it was like right after my ovulation phase, and like I don't like anything after that. But then once I got 3/4 of the way through, all of a sudden I just couldn't put it down. I could not put it down. at all, and I found myself crying real tears. The messiness, the drama, everything about it. The thing about Jessa though is when she writes a messy, dramatic story, there's always some form of progress that happens. It's not there for no reason. Now, there are going to be some unlikable characters. There are going to be some that you're not sure if you like or not. And then there are going to be some lovable characters. And you're going to see some people grow. You're going to see that in life, there are people who literally don't grow. That was the whole point of this story. There was so much about who we are as people and how flawed we are. And then we have a redemption of forgiveness, which, like I said, ties back into me like the whole story of what the Gospels are. So I did give this 5 stars, and I'm really happy I read it. And I'm really happy I got over my funk, because I was like, I don't know, is this gonna be like a 3-star read or something? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, absolutely not. And I literally sound like this because I was crying so much, and it was so reflective for me to think about how it feels to be the black sheep of a family, and not just families, the black sheep out of siblings. Like, this might be TMI, but like the least likable sibling. And that really just like, it was, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. So 5 stars, Jessa Hastings, you're amazing. We will keep reading whatever it is that you write. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a poll over on Instagram. And like I said before, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you can find my Instagram account linked below. It's just Adriana Faye _ Adriana with 2 N's. Okay, so I have 2 options. And once the poll is over, I will then show you guys what my next 5-star prediction read will be. Okay, you guys, so I checked my Instagram poll. I have a sick baby here with us. I checked my Instagram poll, and the next book that we're going to be reading is One Golden Summer. This is a 5-star anticipation for me because Every Summer After was a 5-star to me both times I read it. So I cannot wait to dig into this one. I've been waiting all year to get my hands on this. You gonna get my camera? Yeah. And honestly, y'all, I am just sitting here hoping and praying that I get an ARC next year. Can we say that? Can we say that I'm gonna get an ARC of her next summer release in 2026? Please. So I'm going to cuddle this sick baby and start reading One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. Okay, so I've been outside reading off and on literally all day, and I am on page 136 of One Golden Summer. And it is giving me exactly what I thought it would. It is super summery. I feel like I've been transported over to the lake, and I really feel like I'm back in Every Summer After, but like obviously not with the main characters from over there. So we are now in the story of Charlie from Every Summer After and Alice, and they are complete opposites. So if you love opposites attract, this story is definitely for you. Alice is a complete introvert, and we see the progression from her telling stories from the past and her interactions with Charlie in the present on how her personality has kind of transformed over the years. And it seems as though currently she's kind of trying to step out of her introverted personality. And Charlie, being the extrovert that we know he is, the way that he talks, he's very sharp-witted, like he comes with the comebacks real quick, is kind of pulling that out of her. And it's really interesting to watch their dynamic, because it seems like she really didn't have like friends, and it was hard for her to try and like interact and get out and talk to kids her age in the past. And it's like completely different when she's interacting with Charlie, which I think is really cute. Also, we have Sam and Percy have actually just made an appearance just now in the story, and that's kind of where I'm at so far. It is like slow burn. According to Goodreads, I'm 36% of the way done with the book, and nothing has really transpired yet. So it's definitely slow pace, kind of like Every Summer After. And yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm on chapter 20, and we'll see how far I get. And once I'm done with the book, then I will touch bases with you guys again. Okay, so I'm about halfway through with One Golden Summer, and I just want to say, if you want the summer vibes, this is the book. Like, I'm gonna read you guys what they're eating for dinner. The weather is wet and cool, so Charlie lights a fire while I put a chicken in the oven for dinner. We eat it with warm bread and tomato salad, and after Charlie and I wash the dishes, we drink scotch by the fireplace with Rod Stewart on the CD player. I'm getting all the vibes, all the summer vibes. And like, I want to go, it's the middle of the night. I want to go outside and I want to put chicken on the grill. I want to put chicken on the grill and I want to cut up some watermelon and I want to sprinkle lime on it because that's what this book is giving. Okay, let me get back to reading. I'm quite literally supposed to be packing because I'm taking the kids to Great Wolf Lodge. And I stopped and I made a detour. I did. I've been waiting for this day since I read Before I Let Go. And what is today? Can't get enough. Finally out. And then I also picked up Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends, and I tried to get this in my latest reading vlog, but my Barnes & Noble's only received one copy and they ordered and they showed out. They had a whole bunch of copies, and then they had Can't Get Enough, and they had this my Barnes & Noble's has a Black Voices table, and then they also have Kennedy Ryan has like a whole row inside of the store in the romance section. They showed up, it showed out for her when it came to having copies. So I did stop. I am about to be finished with One Golden Summer, and then I'm gonna go ahead and probably go straight into this one because this is one of the 4 books that I planned on reading for this video. So if you don't know, this is actually the story of Hendrik. She's the last friend in the friend group from the Skyland series, and she is a business owner. She's taking care of an elderly parent, and she meets Maverick, who is a tech guy, and just the other day Kennedy Ryan described him as a black surfer. I've never seen that in a book, and I'm ready to read this. I'm ready to devour this. We have 5-star hopes for her, okay? But first, we've got to finish One Golden Summer. So I have not updated you guys on One Golden Summer and what I'm reading next. You guys can already guess what I'm reading next, but I ended up getting a little sick on the tail end of being at Great Wolf Lodge, and so did the kids. So I just couldn't film. My head was pounding, and that's a whole nother thing. Plus our experience at Great Wolf Lodge. I did finish One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, and I definitely am going to go ahead and give this 5 stars. If you follow me on Goodreads, which is in the description box down below, you will know that I already rated it 5 stars. There were so many reasons why over time it built up into a 5-star read for me. Initially, to be honest, I didn't think it was going to be a 5 stars, and I'm not the type of person with every single 5-star that like right when the book starts you get that 5-star feeling. There are times when books slowly and gradually get you there, because I thought for sure this was like a 4.5 star read simply because of the way that Carly's writing has developed over time. I felt it was so much more descriptive. All of the characters who were part of the main story plot, not just Alice and Charlie, they were developing, they were healing. And so once that started happening, I started to realize how much better Carly's writing has gotten. The fact that she was able to talk about storylines that weren't part of the book and bring those to a close as well, and see those people get not a happily ever after necessarily romantically, but just like in their friendships. And then the way that she brought Sam and Percy back into the story and bring them in to help with the healing and the bringing together of Alice and Charlie, and to get to our boy Charlie that we all wanted this story for. Charlie continue to be Charlie. That's the only way to explain it. He's still got his witty banter. He's very sharp. He's very playful. And we start to see the cracks in that. We start to see how he uses that to sexualize his own self, to belittle his own self into only being worth this much, and how that affects how he interacts with people in general, men, women, it didn't matter, and how he really thought about himself. And I don't want to get into too much of the details of the things that he said about himself, but because I don't want to spoil, but he definitely was broken inside. And the fact that he grew up without his father, you know, played a role in that. And he talks about, you know, the situation, the big giant situation that happens inside of every summer after. And Alice was the perfect FMC for him. She did not judge him. She did not back down. And what's interesting is Charlie was like this huge extrovert, and then you had Alice, who was a huge introvert, and how those two personalities come together and bring out the opposite, yet the best out of one another was truly beautiful to see her grow, him grow. And like once we got to the end and what's actually causing Charlie to try and recreate like his own childhood summer, I was taken aback and I actually shed tears. Maybe I got teary-eyed during every summer after. I can't really remember. I probably did when the big reveal. I definitely was like, happened. But with this one, it was tears. I was very upset. Like, not upset in a bad way, but like, I was upset because I was like, no, Charlie, we don't want anything else bad for you. We don't want anything else bad for you. But she definitely wrapped it up, brought it back around, and we were able to see, you know, like a true found family healing situation and two people who really found exactly what they needed in their significant other. So this one is getting 5 stars. I was so excited to go and pick this up. I didn't know if I wanted to wait to read it like when I got home or what, but then I realized when it was pub day that I needed to get it now and I needed to read it now. And so that actually helped me to finish this one up faster because I wanted to start this one, which I did. And I read the first like 45 pages like that before I went to bed. And let me tell you, if you are following me either on TikTok or Instagram, you have already seen either my stories, or I post my stories as TikTok sometimes when I'm like talking, because TikTok is a little more conversational. It's more relaxed. It's not so like prim and proper. But anyways, you would have seen that on TikTok that I said that this story already will pull tears out of people within the first chapter. And it's true. This is talking about a very heavy topic. This follows our main FMC, which is Hendrix, and she is caring for her aging mother who is suffering from Alzheimer's. And I'm not sure how Alzheimer's and dementia intertwine. I say sometimes it's referred to as dementia. I don't know, so pardon me if I messed that up. Our FMC is Maverick. He owns his own company. He's a billionaire. And honestly, I don't think I've ever read a black billionaire. I love billionaire romances. I don't think I've ever read, I could be wrong, but I just could not wait to pick this one up. So I'm gonna continue to read this one now. My husband's like cleaning out our cars and stuff because we just got back, and now we're gonna start packing tomorrow to leave for California. So I'm going to read this while he does that prep work, and hopefully I can get this finished before I do my prep work. You know, like as the mom, I like check all the outfits, make sure, like I personally like to Ziploc all of the outfits separately so everybody can just pull it out. That's the outfit for Monday, that's the outfit for Tuesday, whatever. So that'll probably be what I do tomorrow. And honestly, I would not be surprised if I get through this book before then. But by the way, look at my bookmark. Look at my bookmark. Ooh, my fingernails is whooped, y'all. But anyways, I got this like a couple years ago, but if I can find the Etsy shop that I got this from, I'll link it below because it's so cute. It's so funny. I take really, this is the longest I've ever kept a bookmark. But anyway, also, is it weird if every single book that I put in my anticipated 5-star reads turns out to be 5 stars? Is that weird? I just find like I've watched so many of these videos personally, and then I see that people are like disappointed and they come out to be 3-star, or they come out to be this. But I curated this list, these 4 books for this video, to make sure that they were authors and reads that literally I knew. I've given high ratings to every single one of their books, except for Carly Fortune. If you know, you know, Meet Me at the Lake is a very common misstep in her fan base. It's a very common misstep. It's not, that was the only one out of these. And I will say, I've never rated Jessa Hastings' books anything less than 5 stars. Kennedy Ryan, the lowest I've ever rated one of her books is 4 stars. I've never rated anything less than that, and that's probably like 2 books maybe that I rated 4 stars. So yeah, and then the next one is also, that I know in my mind that's gonna be next, is also like something that's kind of, we'll see what happens. But anyways, I'm rambling, which I love to do, and you know, I can't help it, you guys. Like, anyways, so I'm gonna dig into Can't Get Enough, and I will touch bases with you guys about how it's going here shortly. Okay, it has been almost a full 24 hours since I finished Can't Get Enough by one of my all-time favorites, Kennedy Ryan. I really needed to sit and think about what I wanted to say to you guys after finishing this. And I'm about to say something that may be controversial about Can't Get Enough, and I think that this is the best book out of the entire Skyline series. And that is saying a lot because I really devoured Before I Let Go, and it was my favorite, one of my favorites that year that I read it for sure. But the way that we got the friendship development, all the side characters, characters from the past books, how they all have evolved, how they're doing, and the side that we got to see of Hendrix that was completely different to who we thought we were gonna get in this book. Now, I did see some reviews saying that online, like she wasn't as like hard and how she came across in the first 2 books. And I think that that's part of the point. You know, the point was that when she met Maverick, she felt safe. And you know that if you've ever been in a relationship with a man who makes you feel safe, he makes you feel soft. He helps you walk in such a feminine energy, especially for women who are used to walking in a masculine part of them. You know, it is truly part of the beauty of the relationship that the two characters built with one another. And I hope I'm coming across right when I'm saying what I'm saying, because it's a true testament to the fact that, like, sorry y'all, I just got out the shower, but the right person can bring out the best in you. And I just really loved watching their love story blossom. And outside of just the romance, the parts that were tearing me up was watching Hendrix go through the motions of seeing her mom really start to develop her Alzheimer's disease. And it was eating me alive. And I don't really want to give any spoilers, but there were some scenes that I was like, I don't know how I would be able to live through that. I don't know how I would react if I was in that situation. And, you know, if you read, I believe it's the very beginning of the book before you actually get into the story, Kennedy Ryan actually talks about her family's experience with the disease and how it affected them. And for her to be able to pour so much into this story was truly phenomenal, because I have a hard time talking about just the loss of my grandparents, let alone what got them there and the inner workings. So that definitely was eating me up. And it's funny because I said that this month I did not want to read anything sad, and I thought that because of who Hendrix was in the previous books, that the story wasn't going to be like as much of an emotional pull for me. But it just so happened that I cried more during this book, I can definitely say, than any other book that I read this year. I might even say I haven't cried as much in a book possibly since I read The Nightingale last year. I might be able to actually say that. Then let's talk about Zare. Zare. I don't want to spoil it, but she got on my last nerves. Because first of all, you're not even really friends. I'm seeing the inner workings and what's going on here, and it's a business relationship. I don't even want to get into it too much, but she was definitely not a girl's girl. And the way that everything played out, like, this story doesn't even necessarily have like a happy ending. There are so many things that it's technically like not really a happy ending. But I don't want to get into that aspect as much, but that was one of the most unlikable characters out of the entire story. I really enjoyed Maverick as a character. He was a very strong male character, and he was very ambitious, and he had Hendrix's back no matter what. Like, when she knew what the fallout was going to be, he let her know, like, I still have your back, and I want to have your back. Like, I want to be there for you. So I really enjoyed this story so much. I could probably sit here and talk about this like for too long. Like, honestly, I could probably sit here for too long. And so obviously, if you couldn't tell, I rated this one 5 stars. I mean, and the cover, it's stunning. Like, this was an easy 5 stars. And by the way, I actually, because I'm getting ready to leave, I decided to get the audiobook as well. And then there were times when, like, I decided to actually like read the book and listen to the audiobook at the same time. And let me tell you, the audiobook is where it's at. You know, with the voices, the descriptions, actually listening to the laughter. And oh my gosh, every time the conversations happened between all 3 of them, between Soledad, Yaz, and Hendrix. They were so funny because I felt like I was just one of them listening to them talk. It was just so funny. And I actually was listening to parts of it in the car with my husband. And so now I guess he's going to be listening to it on the plane. I don't know. He was liking it. So it's a really good story. I'm going to leave that there. And then we're going to get into what my next anticipated read is. I couldn't make a video without bringing up The Great Big Beautiful Life. So this is by our girl Emily Henry. As we know, I have just started to fall in love with Emily Henry as a writer after having one mishap and just kind of tossing her to the side and not giving her another chance for a long time. But I did already start this one today. I did do this one as well on audiobook because I'm like doing all my kids' hair and stuff. And let's see what chapter. I'm on chapter 13 and it says that I have 4 hours and 5 minutes left if I'm listening on 2 times the speed, which is what I might continue to do and then like read it while I'm listening to it. How I'm feeling about this one, honestly. I need to see where it's going because I'm feeling like there's no like cohesiveness in between the 2 story plots. Like, I'm not getting enough to understand, like, there was a moment, this is going to be a spoiler, so if you don't want to hear this, then go ahead and skip over this, but there was a moment when the 2 main characters kissed and I didn't know why. I didn't know why because I hadn't seen enough interactions between them to understand that. But on the flip side, Margaret, I think is the lady's name. Margaret's story is very interesting to me. I could see that being an entire book on its own. But whenever I see the interactions between the 2 main characters, I'm just not really understanding what's going on with that. I really don't understand. And I saw a couple reviews and then I actually just watched a video tonight where someone was comparing this to Evelyn Hugo. And as soon as I finished watching that video, that clicked for me. Because I can see that. I can see this trying to be what Evelyn Hugo knows that she is. And I don't know if I like it. I'm not going to count it out. But after having so many reads and like, they were just like, I wasn't sure if they were going to actually be 5 stars. They just so happened to really be 5 stars. These are authors that are tried and true for me. I trust them. I've never rated Kennedy Ryan anything below a 4 star. I've never rated Jessa Hastings anything below a 5 star. And, you know, because I trusted Every Summer After, and I really believe that was 5 stars through and through. And then This Summer Will Be Different was 4.5. I had a feeling that Charlie's Story, because I loved him and Every Summer After, would be 5 stars. But it could have been a toss-up. You never know what's going to happen. But I don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't know if this is actually going to be a 5-star read. I hate to disappoint you guys, but the cover's beautiful. And I never buy hardbacks, and the one time I buy a hardback, I don't know if I'm going to love it or not. But I'm going to continue to read this, and then hopefully I can finish this up by tomorrow afternoon. I don't see why not. I could probably, it's about to be 10 o'clock, so I'll probably listen to this for like an hour and go to bed. And then after I get done, I will let you guys know what I think about the greatest BBL of all time. Okay, you guys, so I did finish Great Big Beautiful Life last night, and what can I say? I didn't have time to really film myself reacting while I was reading it. What can I say? It was definitely not done in a way that I expected. Not that it wasn't what I expected, because I understood from the beginning what the plot was going to be. It just wasn't done in a way that I thought it was going to be done. And I don't know, like I said, I didn't really watch too many reviews when people were reading this. I didn't read too many reviews. I read a couple, and that kind of gave me a little baseline. I read some good ones, some bad ones, and I was actually very hopeful for The Great Big Beautiful Life. What actually happened, though, was very disappointing. I will say that I officially did not get all 5 stars. This, for me, is like a 2 out of 5. Definitely a 2. And I saw a lot of other people comparing this to Evelyn Hugo, and I could definitely see that. I felt that. I felt like that's what it was trying to do. Like once you get to the twist, the entire story seems like a complete outline of that story, but just not done well. When it comes to the literary fiction versus the romance aspect, I think the problem with it isn't that there isn't enough romance. It just feels like the romance was an afterthought and it was just thrown in there. I just don't see how we got from point A to point B with the 2 main characters. Like, I was confused when the first spy scene hits, and I even write this in my Goodreads review. That's linked below. I probably said it a million times in this video, but there was a moment when they had their first kissing scene and things were happening, and I was like, I'm about to say something, y'all, so if you want to skip over this because it might feel vulgar to you, but this is just me talking how I talk. Why is her titty out? What happened that made her titty plop out? What happened that she felt after this other relationship with this guy Theo wasn't panning out and was making her feel a certain way, that she would just let this man plop her titty out? Why? For what? I personally just didn't understand why. And then as it progressed, it was just like I'm in love with him. But for what? For why? Because the little snippets that we got of them being in a relationship were so small and so, like, they were just there, that it just felt like, but why would you be? I don't understand. Because he questioned why your mother seemed disinterested in you. And I also felt like the story plot of the mother being disinterested in her job, I just felt like it didn't come across that way to me. It didn't come across that way to me. And so I don't even know. There was just so much. Now, the Margaret aspect of the story could have been a great story if there was time taking during the chunks when it's like their story, her version parts. It could have been done, written better. The writing just wasn't doing what it needed to do. So when those parts happened, they were throwing so many characters. Like, she was throwing so many characters in there and not really facilitating a baseline of how each character transitioned to the next character, that it just felt very rushed. The story felt completely non-cohesive, if that's the word. I just didn't feel cohesive to me. I felt like we were just all over the place. And when we got to about the 3rd quarter of the book, I was like, there is hope right here in this 3rd quarter part. But when the final quarter and the big reveal of the book happened, it fell short for me. You know, my husband told me he could tell that I wasn't enjoying the book because I kept making these faces, like walking around the house, and He's like, it definitely wasn't like your other reads that I've seen you enjoy. And the fact that he noticed right away that I wasn't going to like the book was a huge sign to me that I'm not crazy. That how I feel about this is true. It could have, there were great possibilities to be had with this whole idea, as we've seen done before in Evelyn Hugo, but it just wasn't executed well. And I'm so sorry for the Great Big Beautiful Life lovers. I will not be one of them. And I'm not even one of the people who are like, oh, it's mid. I think it was not great. Now, it wasn't DNF worthy. I'm trying to be better at not DNFing, but I was on such an Emily Henry high. I was like, oh, I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I know I am. Look at the cover. This is a 5-star cover. And that's definitely not what it was. So that was the end of my 5-star anticipations. And I finally got a dud. So to go back over what we read over, I think I've been doing this for about 2 weeks. I really took my time reading. So the first one that we read, let's go back to this, is The Conditions of Will. The Conditions of Will, now that I've had time to sit on it, is it still 5 stars? I'm not going to change my 5-star rating, but I could see where it may actually have been a 4.5. I think I was really excited to get back into Jessa's writing, and I think there might have been a few things that she could have addressed better, such as church hurt, but it's definitely one that you should pick up and read for sure. Then I finished One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, and this is definitely 5 stars, and it's a happy 5 stars. And there were definitely moments when I cried, but I felt happy reading this literally 95% of the time. There was this small sliver of time where we learn some things that's going on with Charlie, and just like the rehashing of what happened in Every Summer After, that, you know, definitely made me feel emotional. But this is a 5-star through and through. If you are a lover of Every Summer After, you are going to get every single thing that you wanted for Charlie out of this book. And then we read Can't Get Enough, and this is my favorite out of the 4 books that I read, hands down. And I plan to listen to this on Audible again, just to like catch anything that I did not catch, because this is my favorite out of the Skyland series for sure. And I cried from beginning to end. Just everything, from the devastation, from the grief of what's happening to her mother, and all of the love scenes, the way that Maverick talks to her, the way that her friends have her back, the soft side that we get from Hendrix. Every single aspect of this story just did something for me here. It did everything that it needed to do to wrap up every single storyline, and I'm just so sad that this entire world, this series, is over. And also, there are characters from the other books, like specifically I remember the characters from the Hoop series are in here, and I really enjoyed that because I loved reading Long Shot, and so those are surprises. They are in this book. So we got, technically, from when I first rated, we have 3 5-stars, and then we have this outlier, which was a 2-star. I think we had a really good couple of weeks reading, and I'm excited to just continue reading and get into some of the other new releases. Like right here, I'm going to take this with me to California. I can finally start Audrey and Bash Are Just Friends. I've been really wanting to start this one here. I'm going to take this with me to California and try and pick some other ones. So I love you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. This might be a long one, and happy reading.